What am I doing here? This dinner is one of the two great traditions in Washington. The other one is underestimating me and Kamala. Well, the truth is, we really have a record to be proud of.
That was Joe Biden at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And just for those of us who don't go to that dinner, I've never been invited, you've never been invited, here's what it is. The President of the United States of America invites all the media who lies for him endlessly, and they all get together in some gigantic banquet room while the president makes lame jokes other people write for him, and they all just kind of enjoy being above us, above you, above me, above truth, above obligations of any kind, above the concern of the hourly worker. That's why these people all gathered together to close our economy for as long as humanly possible. But it's actually more than that. There was a moment in this thing that I thought was so revealing of not the White House Correspondents' Dinner, you don't care about that, I don't care about that, but of the country we live in. So indicative of what the system really is. Joe Biden has very famously been the most reclusive president ever. One of them, with the exception of the ones who have even more severe health problems than Joe, he just doesn't answer questions. He doesn't do press conferences. He's infamous now for putting out statements, even in the wake of horrific controversies of his, like Afghanistan. He'll just put out a statement and then walk away or go on vacation. He's never there. He's not available for the media. He gives them a very controlled snippet and then nothing else. He joked about that. And the people he's supposedly disrespecting are sitting in that room. Keep in mind, they're the people he's screwing over every time he doesn't take questions. Knowing that, here was Joe.
In a lot of ways, this dinner sums up my first 2 years in office. I'll talk for 10 minutes, take 0 questions, and cheerfully walk away.
You hear him laugh? He doesn't take our questions. How damaging is that? How revealing is that, I guess I should say? Because you know what that is? Here's what that is. You know what the system is. We talk about it all the time on the show. The system is your culture, any nation. It is built on various pillars. Right? Your media is a pillar. Your education system, your government, your religion, your entertainment. These are pillars that hold up societies, and they're supposed to be separate. That way they can keep each other in check. So if media lies about something, immediately entertainment, athletes, actors, everyone should come out and pile on the media for lying about something so that everything stays in check. But in a late stage republic like we are now, they figure out something. The leaders of the cultural pillars figure out, hey, if we just work together, we'll be able to pillage this place and the peasants will be totally powerless to do anything about it. Now, that's what I call the system. That's what we have now, is a system. But here's what's crazy about this country we live in. People will act against their own best interests, act against what they know to be right, act against the truth in favor of lies, just to be part of the system. Because if you've got your system card, if you're a system member, let's be honest, life is easier. Life is good. If you're a reporter sitting in that room and you work for ABC and the president makes some joke about how he never takes your questions, he just spits right in your face. The truth is that reporter has a decision to make, and a difficult decision. That reporter can sit there and laugh and clap like a seal. Ha ha ha, it's so funny. And then that reporter keeps his system membership card, and that means that reporter really can only fail so far. Even if they lose their job at ABC, they'll get picked up by a university here, CBS over here. You can only fall so far if you're part of that system. But if a reporter was to say, stand up at that dinner and ask him a difficult question on camera, well, then you find your system membership card revoked. Then you can fall far. You might even have to get a real job. That's the kind of nation we live in. Either you're a member of the system, part of the system, or you're not part of the system. Speaking of part of the system, let's talk about J.P. Morgan. Let's move past dinners and talk about something frightening that happened today. I woke up, it was one of those days, I know we've all had them. I woke up, turned my alarm off, and then, let's see what the news of the day is. And I went, what? Yeah, the federal government, they seized First Republic Bank. The federal government seized First Republic Bank. That is the second largest bank closure in the history of the United States of America. They seized it, and that's not even the best part, the federal government seizing it. The best part is they seized it and then turned around and looked for a card-carrying member of the system. J.P. Morgan, always been good little boys and girls for the federal government. So they seized First Republic Bank and they said, hey, who's a system member who wants First Republic Bank? Oh, J.P. Morgan, nice, there you go. J.P. Morgan gets massive increase in value. They have control now in the banking sector of this country that is frankly alarming. J.P. Morgan just became an entity as powerful as some state governments, you could argue, with the amount of finances they now have at their disposal. That happened today. That's the kind of country we live in. And that's why you want to be a card-carrying member of the system. Which brings us to Joe and Kamala. Let's go back to this again. You know, I've already told you, I think they're going to try to push Joe out. I think they're going to try to push Joe out because he's not sane enough, doesn't have the mental capacity, I guess I should say, to lie like he should. That's really Joe Biden's main sin. It's not freezing out the press. It's not his brain melting into pudding. None of those things really matter to any of these communists. They don't care. What matters to the communists is maintaining power and getting more of it. And Joe Biden is just simply a liability because his brain is melted and now his mouth, there's no filter on it. So he'll routinely say out loud the things he should be keeping private, and that is what the system cannot afford, because remember, all communism is based on lies. You must lie at all times. If you can read any communist work out there, they'll all talk about it. Never let them see what you're doing. We can't let them know what we're doing. We have to keep what we're doing hidden. That's what they believe. So if you have a president who has moments of accidental honesty like Joe Biden does, you're going to get moved out. It's my theory anyway. And when I see people like Chris Coons saying things like this, it leads me to believe there's probably going to be a push out.
The vice president's ready to run and ready to be president should that ever happen. I know our president has great confidence in her, and so do I.
Yeah, sure. We all have a lot of confidence in her. Why though would you talk like that? Why are we talking about the vice president like she may have to step in at any moment? This is an effort to begin the Kamala rehab project, the public image rehab project for Dome, and Lord knows she needs it, especially after her stellar performance talking to the South Korean president about Squid Games.
I also think of the Emmy Award-winning TV shows like Squid Games, which I will confess Doug and I binge-watched at home over a series of weeks. And I think of the actress, Yoon Ya-jung, who I met in Seoul last year when I convened groundbreaking South Korean women. She is the first Korean to win an Academy Award for acting. These are examples of the cultural ties and the intertwined history between our nations.
So that brings me to this. What if they do run? What if my theory's crazy and Biden and Dome do run? I know that's horrible to think about, isn't it? And we cringe at the thought of having another 4 years of these two morons running the country. So how are we going to stop it? Well, I will argue that we are very, very, very far behind when it comes to understanding how to shape culture in this country. This is actually the main point of what I wanted to talk about here. Let me explain something. I'm not an artistic person. This is coming back to politics. Hang with me. I'm not artistic. I can't sing or dance or draw, or play an instrument. I can't do any of these things. None of the Kellys can. We're just not an artistic people. So I instinctively, when I see people doing things like that, I kind of scoff at it. Oh, look, a dance competition. But let me tell you something right now. Republicans should be sponsoring dance competitions. Now, I don't think just because of who I am, dance doesn't mean anything to me. So why should they do that? Because let's say you're a young lady or a young dude going into dance. All the dance competitions, all the dance schools, almost all of them are run by card-carrying communists now. So because we don't take any value in that, we ignore that cultural area, and therefore we raise an entire generation of dancers who think they have to be Democrats, because all their dancer friends are Democrats. Have you seen these stupid TikTok videos with these young idiot communist activists?
What the Republican Party doesn't understand about Gen Z is we don't like you. You claim you want to appeal to Gen Z, but you call us stupid, you say we're dumb, you say we're indoctrinated. I promise it's a losing strategy. And Gen Z is watching the Republican Party extremely closely as they destroy our environment, take rights away from women, do nothing about kids being shot in schools, and if they think they can give the middle finger to our generation and get away with it, they're sorely mistaken.
Okay, so what did you do when you looked at that? I mean, I should probably give you a second. You're probably not even looking at me because your eyeballs are actually rolled so far back in your head that they got stuck. Me too. I don't look at that video and get inspired. I don't look at that video and cheer. I don't look at that video and think, wow, that's a genius strategy. We should do that. But the truth is we should do that. Now, not with those two morons, but we look at things like that, these young 12-year-old influencers on TikTok or whatever these guys are on, and we scoff at things like that. But the next generation doesn't. The next generation coming up, they're on TikTok. They're on social media, sadly, too much. They're on there all day long doing this. Why isn't the RNC funding things like that like the DNC is? Why? Too busy losing elections? Oh, I'm sorry.